This is Pastor Randy. I'd like to welcome you to another Q&A. You know, a question that we often receive here at this ministry is this: how should I study the Bible? To begin with, I'd like to share with you a chart from the third edition of the Restoration Study Bible. The title of this chart is 5 Principles to Proper Bible Study. Here are some of the points outlined in this informative chart. Number 1, take it at face value. Number 2, read the passage in context. Number 3, let Scripture explain itself. Number 4, know the context. And number 5, language and grammar. Today I want to focus on the final principle, and that is knowing the language and grammar. This last principle is really important when trying to understand our Father's Word. You know, so often do we see people form an opinion about a passage when the Hebrew and Greek really disagree or conveys a different meaning. Today I want to consider 2 examples to show why this final principle is so crucial in our study of Scripture. One passage many people misconstrue is what Paul says in Romans 10 verse 4. Here's what Paul says in this passage. He says, "For Messiah is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth." Now, most people who read this passage will say something like, Paul here is showing that we're no longer under that Old Testament law. Where the problem is, they don't understand the meaning of this word "and." The word "and" is from the Greek telos, or here's how Strong's defines this word. It says here, to set out for a definite point or goal. Properly, the point aimed at is a limit. That is, by implication, the conclusion of an act or state. So from Strong's, we find the telos is two definitions. One definition refers to a goal, and the other to a conclusion or termination. So the question is this: was Yahweh the goal, or listen, the termination or end of the commandments? Or in Matthew 5 verse 17, he said that he came not to destroy but to fulfill, meaning to obey the law. Now another example of this principle is found in 1 Corinthians 7 verse 15. Paul says there this. He says, "But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Elohim hath called us to peace." Now, many people will point out that the word here, bondage, is a justification for divorce. I've heard this many, many times over the years. Now listen, Paul is not referring here to divorce. What he's speaking about is separation. In the Greek, the word for bondage is doulou, and refers not to divorce, but to the conjugal duties within marriage. Here's how Strong's defines this word. It says, quote, to enslave. Now the Thayer's Greek lexicon has this to offer. It says metaphorically, give myself wholly to one's needs and service, make myself a bondman to him. So again, there's nothing here in this passage justifying divorce. Instead, Paul is simply acknowledging that when 2 people separate, that those marital or those conjugal duties within that relationship ceases to exist. So from this example and many others like it, we see why it's so important that we go beyond the English and seek to understand the meaning from the original language and grammar, whether that be the Hebrew or Greek. Well, I pray that this word has been a blessing to you, and as always, we would encourage you to prove all things and hold fast to that which is good. Until next time, may Yahweh bless.